Hello, hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
The excitement of pressing the go live button and seeing what happens. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? I know, exactly. How funny. Yeah, so last week, was it last week or the week before? It was last week, right? Yeah, we met last week. We talked about my inability to understand how to use our product. But since then, I am a pro at it now.
Oh, excellent.
So, yeah, like you get the hang of it really fast. I just was not following, and you made it very clear to me last week. So, my goal in the next week is I'm terrible at I shouldn't say I'm terrible at anything. Let's just say that making instructional videos isn't necessarily my forte, right? But my goal is to make an instructional video doing one, from beginning to end, like you did to show me last week, so that I would have that if anybody says, I just don't get it. How do I start? How do I do it? And I know that you've got videos out there and everything too, but I thought maybe somebody needs to hear it in my voice. So that's one of my goals, is to make something we can use that way too, that people can kind of follow along with. So yeah. If I haven't done it by next Tuesday, you're welcome to reach through and slap me, but that's my goal.
do the flick.
Right? Exactly. So, but yeah, so you and I have both been busy people. We had a holiday yesterday, so we don't necessarily have a topic that we want to bring up today. But I do want to just kind of talk about some of the stuff that we have put out there, which are the WP World gave us an ad space. WP Wonder Woman, all 12 of our subscribers that saw it today went on it today. It's the first issue. It has to take some time to build, but I
somewhere.
It's right. So I threw that in there as well, because you got to have some advertising in there to show people why they would want to buy advertising in there. So I put that in there as well. So, and we've been engaging with people because I tagged us on the WP Wonder Woman account, tagged OMG as one of the supporters, and so we've had a little bit of interaction on socials today, which is also very nice.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to mention some of that stuff, because it's, we talk about some of the big things sometimes, but all the little things start to add up as well. And so being able to see just how all these things come together, and I still think we should work on that homepage a little bit and make it very clear above the fold, what it is that they're gonna, why they would want to buy OMG IMG, why anybody would want to buy it, and make it a little more call to action-y. I just made that up. Call to action-y is not actually an adjective, but we're gonna say it is today.
We're gonna go with it.
Exactly.
Let's see. Yeah. Pertaining to that.
Yes.
We mentioned a while ago, a person on Twitter was very nice enough to design us a new homepage.
Oh, yes.
So I'm looking for that because that was sent over. And nice. There it is. Faison. Faison Kerr, if that's their full name. And so we have a design. Oh, where did it go? There it is. Presenting, share screen. There we go. So I don't know. Trying to zoom in a bit. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Yeah, there's. I don't know how pixel exact I'll use it. But between this and some other stuff that I'll talk about in a second, I definitely think that we can make some updates. I like, there are certain things that I do like. Let's see if we go to our current homepage. Like we talked about there's a graphical element, but it doesn't really say anything. Whereas Faison and I went back and forth a little bit of like, what can we do over here on the right that actually like says something or communicates value and stuff like that. Also, I think moving the video up would definitely help.
Yeah.
And in this case, like pushing it again, essentially. And then emphasizing testimonials, which is something that I had been working on, but kind of stopped working on collecting. And so I think we need to push again. So yeah, lots to work with here. And your comment I like about making it more call to action-y. And then also, had my mastermind group this afternoon, and I was sort of vaguely bringing up some of the stuff that you and I talked about last week of how do we, high level, the question was like, okay, I'm getting some feature requests from users. If I'm only one person, one pair of hands, focusing my time on something, it's like, do you focus on customers and potential customers, or do you, and potentially at the cost of not doing other marketing actions which get you more customers, or do you try to get new customers who might walk in and go, oh, this doesn't have the features I need?
Right.
Bit of a catch-22. The consensus was, which in hindsight I think I agree with, is pleasing the customers you have, which also leads to the people who are reaching out and saying, if it had this, I'd buy. It's like, well, that's much better than somebody who hasn't heard of us at all. And then also it helps by solving the problems, which I talked through with you, and you kind of said back to me some of the same things that we covered last week, or as we covered it last week, of essentially doing more automation or doing more magic where things are just created for you without you having to click quite so many buttons. And I had shared that I'm sort of working on the obvious culmination of that, which is auto generating images for as many back posts as you have. And then one of the guys in my group said, like, oh, what about integrations? Like you integrate with all these, SEO and things like that, like focusing on, but he said it in a different way. He's like, well, if you have something, I think the example he used was Eventbrite. He's like, if you've got Eventbrite events, and I needed to generate an image for each one, like what if it auto-populated with that it's probably an image for an event. What if you automatically sucked in the fields, knowing, for the time and date, rather than having to add that, or even the Eventbrite logo, or, what, as an example. And I'm like, oh my God, I hadn't thought to take it another
that
step.
direction. Yeah.
Right. Which also kind of led me to, and this was an hour ago, and then I took a nap. So I've only been working on this a little bit, but the thinking more about, and all of this, I swear, is related to your comment about, doing more things, being more call to action-y. And we've been talking more about, your landing page is supposed to be benefits, not features. And then you click through to find, like, oh, they actually have these neat features, but what is the business problem that they're solving?
Right.
And we've talked about what steps can we remove from the process of creating images, not opening Photoshop, not going to Canva. And so
Right.
if our focus, at least one of our focuses, was again on generating kind of your image is just done, right? And so it's, if you have these integration points, you can talk about the integrations, you can tag the people, the plugins, the companies that you're integrating with, and then they love you. But also you can focus on, like, I guess I hadn't thought of the business value so clearly, at least this being one of them, of it's just done for you automatically, all that kind of stuff. So so yeah, being a little more call to action, like buy our damn thing, but but behind that, how do we convince them to do so, and focusing on more precisely on saving time. It's magic. It just works for you.
Yeah, no, that's true. I love when things happen automatically in the right direction. I have somebody visiting me this weekend. This weekend, she and I went out to the Montezuma Wildlife Refuge, where I like to take pictures of all those birds. And then also, like yesterday, we went to Niagara Falls. So we were editing up the photos that she took. So I took them with the Canon camera, edit. I can't speak today. Edit them
Edited
up.
is always a hard one.
It really is, in Lightroom, right? Adobe Lightroom, and then airdropped them back to her phone. So all of those processes happened. They hit her cell phone. She picks it up, and it automatically is recognizing a red-winged blackbird, and it's recognizing carp, and it's recognizing what was the other, some of the other birds that we saw. It was recognizing plants, and like it just happened, right? It just happened just like that. And she was blown away, and I had never paid attention to that feature. I'm like, here I am trying to learn all the birds. I'm like, oh, and I think that's a pie-billed grebe, it's like, oh, look, my phone told me it was a pie-billed grebe,
Right.
kind of thing. And some of you probably have never even heard of a pie-billed grebe, because I only learned about them last year when I first took a picture and had to look it up because I didn't know my phone was going to tell me. But like those kinds of things that happen that way. And I think, and with kind of shifting a little bit too, like we talked about accessibility in the past, right? So accessibility to identify and provide alt image descriptions is not a precise science. You ask people like Alex Stein, and he will tell you that it is not always accurate. So, like, it did say pie-billed grebe, or it did say, I just love saying that. I don't know why. Like common grackle. Birds have really cool names, but
they do.
it doesn't describe the whole scene, right? Like, so like, a red-winged blackbird sitting in a tree with the pond behind it, its mouth is open as though it's singing, like those kinds of things, right? So there still has to be a human element in it, of course. And even when you automate things, you still want to give humans control to say, no, I don't want to do it that way, or I do want to do it that way, or let me edit a little bit, kind of thing. But when things happen, like you say, like automatically like that, it just makes you feel like you're heading down the right path faster and getting things done more efficiently.
And we're still now we're going to get weird and meta, but I just read an article that said that generations older than Gen Z pause when a camera aims at them. Gen Z doesn't.
Interesting. Yeah.
Take it or leave it, right? But the growing up where you're just used to phone cameras being pointed at you all the time, so you don't hesitate. And I'm sure this can't be
I stop and pose and smile. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you hold a pose so that the picture, can be exposed, the film can be exposed long enough, because we're old. Yuck, yuck, yuck. But we still live in there will be a time when we take all this for granted. That time has not yet come. We've been we did a bunch of gardening over the weekend, and we use an app called Picture This, the free version,
Mm-hmm.
where you take pictures of plants and then it scans it and tells you all about the plants. And there's a bunch of these different apps, but then Lindsay didn't open the app, took a picture, and was like, "Oh, this is a such and such." I was like, "Wait, how did you know?" She's like, "Oh, Apple started integrating it." So same sort of thing, like the Google Lens. They've been trying to, they've had that for a long time, but it's one of those things that needed to age a while for it to actually like have value, like QR codes. But yes. Do you see a red-winged blackbird out your window?
No, there was a song sparrow that was right in there, and then the cat just literally leaped onto the desk and scared it away. So it kind of startled me. Apologize for my distraction.
No, fine. But yeah, I think you're right. Like if we can focus on this, feels good because this is like, you know, we've had a number of discussions about like we're not solving a problem, right? Like we are the icing on the cake. We are, and so we've even talked about the magic of it, or like adding the sparkle. We are the filter, you know, on the photo, but like taking it more to heart to be more like pushing the value of we are magic. And frankly, we are magic that nobody else can do outside of WordPress, because we can set up a template that pulls in data from your posts, and we can even do that 1,000 times over. Anybody else, you either have to copy paste, or in theory they could connect and try to scrape the page, or you know, connect to RSS feed or something. But anyway, the point is we can do it better, faster. And so, and I know that I've known this as a feature, but focusing more on that and calling it magic, I'm liking more and more, you know. And it also helps, like I said, business directive of like, how do you integrate with that in mind?
And then you integrate it somehow with the confetti plugin. So as soon as you create your featured image, confetti shoots across. No, I'm just kidding.
No, absolutely.
And it really feels like magic.
In fact, talk about business partnerships. That's oh my God, I'm blanking.
Derek,
thank you. Yeah. Derek and I did a license swap where I gave him a copy of OMG and he gave me a copy of, he has 2 plugins. But I hate to say it, but the one at least that immediately was like, oh, right, was the confetti one.
Yeah.
And then his connection plugin, like I need to sit down and take some time to like figure out and whatnot. Whereas like the confetti one is one of those perfect products where it's just like you immediately understand exactly what it does, and it puts a smile on your face. You can't go wrong with that kind of product.
It really does. And it's not a need. It's not a need at all. It's not like my website needs security plugin, or my website needs hosting, or my website needs a form plugin. It's like, it's just delight. And I mean, you could make an argument that we need delight in our lives too, but it's you do. Oh, you did a form or what it is, you know. So not your life, but it's make work. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I am issues today. We have such we've had high winds all day, so yeah, so I realized I may be coming in and out a little bit because my network is not stable. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's the first time it happened, so I lost you. But I think the gist being, yeah, like products that just add delight are okay.
Yeah, exactly. They're more than okay.
Yeah.
They're awesome. Yeah. So yeah, so I think it's okay
to add his plugin to the website.
I think we should. I have it on WP speakers. So every time you join as a speaker, you get celebrated.
Love it.
Yeah. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I think and going through the process. So I installed OMG IMG on underrepresentedintech.com. Just about every week when we're not on vacation or something, just about every week we do a podcast there on some topic on around DEIB work. And I thought, well, I'm always finding great images like on Unsplash and whatever to use that really describe things so that it's every image really is compelling for the topic. So for example, this morning we recorded and we talked about that Harrison Kerr speech where he was completely anti-feminist, anti-woman, anti-LGBTQ, anti-everything. And we also talked about this trend on TikTok and other social media about, asking a woman if she was alone in the woods, would you rather come across a man you don't know or a bear? And women are saying, I choose the bear, right? And so now I kind of bug on my desk. So we talked about that a lot. And so my featured image we just recorded it today, so it won't be out until Friday, but the featured image I found is a bear. Right. And the topic is we choose the bear. So like getting OMG IMG stuff on that so that the text or the title of the post will be across the middle of that. It'll be branded in the lower right hand corner with the logo and then the site title. That's to me wonderful because now then when we share it out on socials, it's not just a picture of a bear, it's a picture of a bear that's branded with text and the border and the things that make
Context.
it look snazzy. Yeah. And so, like, do I need that? I could actually argue that, yeah, because if it's more compelling, people are going to click through. Now, do I need it to make my website work? No. But could I argue that I need it to make my website traffic grow and to make people more curious about clicking through? And for that, I would say yes. So I'm excited. I did give myself a discount, 100% discount to use our own product. I know. Yeah, I love when you texted me last week or DM'd me on Slack and you were like, we made a sale. Oh, no, it was just you. But I was like, I need to play with it. So, but it to me, it is exciting. So like, I think we have we have over 150 probably episodes. I want to go back and retrofit all of those with with OMJMD. So as soon as you have that bulk uploader finished, we're going to play with it on that website.
We're going to test it. Perfect.
We are. So, but I also did discover something, and I shared this with you, that site is built in Divi, and the featured image size cuts off. And I didn't realize that because it's borders and things like that. But when I put that square border around or rectangular border around, it cut off on Divi as well. Right. So because I hadn't noticed margin of error, like, oh, that's the image I picked. Yeah. But as soon as you put a border on something, you can see when it gets cut off. So I'm like, maybe I won't use the border since Divi is not playing nice. Right. My goal eventually, as it is, I want to move it to Cadence, but it's a behemoth of a project, and let's just face it, I'm not going to have any time to do that anytime soon. So,
and it's working, right? It's delivering content. And so as we are often reminded as developers, especially, people don't care. People don't care that it's on WordPress. People don't care what plugins you're using, what page builders you're using, as long as it works. The feature that I will call out to you is, and this is interesting because it's another thread that I keep examining inside the plugin, is you are generating an open graph image, which is 1200 by 630, but your site, as determined by Divi, wants, say, 1000 by 630. And so you can actually create a template for open graph, but you can also create a template using a custom size and then save one as the open graph image and save the other as a featured image. So Divi then won't have to crop it. And that leads me to, I think we talked about this. I know we did. The Instagram one square, right? And and where we've got potentially a featured image, my client sites use a 16:9 featured image, obviously 1200 by 630 open graph image. So already we've got two image sizes. but built into the site, right? And so I've got the option as OMG has the option of placing and saving the featured image and placing and saving the open graph image programmatically. Instagram, there is no pushing to Instagram. I mean, there is with Buffer or third-party tools, but for the most part, you're from within WordPress until we integrate with these plugins, and only if you have one of these plugins installed, you've actually got to generate the image, download it, and then re-upload it to Instagram. And so I keep playing with the idea of, again, talk about magic. See, all of this is coming together. Like I like these days where an idea and then a couple of conversations and it starts to grow bigger. What was I going to call it? The media kit. And so for each blog post or product or Eventbrite event, whatever it is, clicking a button, or as we're now talking about, auto-generating, there's a media kit generated. So you've got essentially whatever assets you predetermined to be in there, including a square image, an open graph image, any number of things, assets. Because if I got in the habit a long time ago, and I recommend this to everybody, Michelle, for all websites, for all of my websites, if you go to /assets, I don't know where I got assets. It could be called media kit, could be called anything, but logo in a couple of different sizes or a couple of different formats. I always have the color palette, usually happy talk, what's the one sentence, the one paragraph, description, So you can go and just copy things, but it's also good for like when I'm interviewed on a podcast and they go, hey, where's the logo? I can just say /assets and then they can go grab it. So essentially creating that kind of media kit, but for each blog post, so you can have different sized versions and such, and potentially like one-click zip download, and so you've got all of them, and then you could even back them up, whatever you want to do with them. But I've got that in the back of my mind down the road. It's funny because it's another instance where I'm finding that a lot of people, we're going to still have to do a lot of training, because as we did that work on defining personas a few weeks ago, you've got marketing agencies and marketing people thinking this way, thinking what is the mini campaign that I have to do for each blog post to get the most juice out of each blog post. But I think your average content creator, solo blogger doesn't think that way. A blog post gets published. We make sure that the boxes are checked, meaning there is a featured image, there is an open graph image. It then gets published once to socials, and then we go, well, that's what I have time to do. I've wrung out what I think I can do, and I move on. Versus it should be reposted the next day, and then 3 days later, and then a week later, and then 2 weeks later, and then randomly, and in a perfect world, each one is tagged. And if it's Throwback Thursday, then 6 months from now, it'll be auto-selected random. I mean, you can get crazy with it, but in a perfect world, that's what you're doing, and ideally automating most of it. And I've seen some plugins that try a little bit, they scratch at the surface, but it really does take a person to plan this whole thing. So
it sure does.
Working towards solving some of those problems.
So as you were talking, because things pop in my head when you talk too, I was thinking about, like you were saying, how the open graph image can be different from the Facebook. I mean, they are different from the. I almost said Facebook image. What is the word I want? Featured image.
Open graph. Featured image.
Yeah, featured image. So, and I was thinking about in WordPress and Gutenberg, we have like duotones, we have overlays and things like that. Does OMG do that at this point, or could it be built in to do that kind of a duotone?
Yes.
That might be fun too, right? So like, especially if, let's say, a website is using duotone a lot, then to be able to apply that to the open graph and featured image would be kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Add it to the
Yeah,
list, Corey.
oh, it's on the list. The very,
Okay,
very long list. Yeah, we are, it's kind of amazing. It's an amazing time to be alive. We are, there's so many libraries available to do so many things that used to require
hmm
a server, um, that we can offer a lot of those things. I just have to find the time, because there's also right now, I would argue that there are too many controls that are floated to the top inside the
Yeah.
builder. And so I've been hesitant to add too many more features, which is the wrong answer, right? Um, but for the layout to make it manageable, you saw me last week click through it and even go,
hmm
wait, where was that thing again? And so
hmm
that immediately tells everybody, red flag, this could be revisited, this could be done better.
Right.
And so looking at that kind of before, and this is as probably one of the most common themes that anybody watching these has heard me talk about, is this endless stream of cart before horse before cart, or chicken and egg kind of, what are the
Yeah.
features that should be built first that add the most value but take the least amount of time, versus all of the nice to haves, or the just want tos, or all those kinds of things.
hmm Yeah. There's so many possibilities, and there's only one Corey, so I'll try to
Right.
keep my suggestions slow rolling as opposed to fast rolling towards you.
Well, they are, and I mean, and this is why, years ago, we got in the habit, the development community, the product community, got in the habit of, we have the frequently called backlog,
hmm
and any feature request, people send me features for any of my products, I legitimately put them on a list, and some of them I have vote counts going.
Oh yeah.
And so I can say, like, 10 people have suggested this, great, let's actually add it. I'll take the time to add it because I know enough people want it, versus
Yeah. Makes sense.
just random ideas that pop into to anybody's head. I discovered this a long time ago, myself included, of like, you get somebody going down a rabbit hole, and they'll think of features all day. Do you
hmm
actually want this? I don't care, but it's a neat idea. Not
Right.
everybody, but most people love the sound of their own ideas.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, I love my ideas. I love my advice. I love my, I wouldn't say it if I didn't, kind of thing. So
right.
yeah, I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it comes out of a desire to be helpful more than their own personal needs too.
Right.
Like, oh, somebody might have a use case for XYZ. Well, do the majority have a use case for XYZ? If not,
Right.
it's probably a little lower on the list
Right.
of future features. Makes
Yep.
sense. Totally makes sense.
I think, thankfully, I learned a long time ago that I actually think best by speaking out loud. And so I've started trying to use AI to have conversations. I also, like I've said, I have mastermind groups. I have things like this. But it also means that I love the phrase strong opinions loosely held.
Yes.
Same idea of, yeah, almost every idea that comes out of my mouth, I'm at least intrigued by, otherwise I wouldn't say it. But I long ago, I think mostly I've stopped being so in love with my ideas, because I'm like, just because it comes out of my mouth, it means that I'm thinking it through, not that it's necessarily a good idea. I don't have that
Right.
filter.
Right. Well, it's like in brainstorming, there is nothing wrong to put on the board when you're brainstorming.
Very good.
It's that you don't necessarily want to give everything equal weight.
Yeah, very well put.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
some
all
of these
goes
just
it all goes
aren't.
on the board.
What's that?
Well, and
Oh, it all goes
I
on the
like,
board. Yes. Mhm.
yeah, I tend to put even silly ideas, or ideas I know that I'll never implement, on those lists. One, because I'm not always right, and so I can have customers. I've had 10 people come to me and say, build this feature that I thought was a silly idea, but if they all want it, then I'll build it. Sure. Because I'm not my only customer. In a perfect world, I'm not my only customer.
But I am now too, though. So there's at least 2 of us.
But it also, what I have found is it kind of what I alluded to earlier, not that this was a silly idea, but somebody will say something and I'll not have thought it completely through, or I won't implement exactly that, but it leads me to go, oh, that opens a different door. And so then I'll go explore those things.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well,
but
I'm
none of
going
this
to work
pertains
on
to marketing.
Well, I mean, it's all I mean, it's not. It's a Venn diagram. Everything overlays with something else, not necessarily a circle with multiple colors just stacked one on top of each other, right? But it's all interconnected. Like, and those companies that think development and marketing have like no interface with one another are not listening to their customers, because the marketing team knows what the customers are asking for, and they're the ones talking, and they're the ones seeing, and they're the ones watching, and the developers are the ones who can provide that and also have ideas and ways. So there's got to be some overlap, right? Otherwise, you're missing out on things that could really work well. So, I mean, that's how I'll say it anyway. Yeah. So my goal this week is to create and like a onboarding video, like whatever you call it, right? That will be obsolete eventually, because we're gonna just keep morphing and making things better as we go, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it would be neat. Like, what immediately pops into my head is if you end up creating a video that's A to Z, taking snippets of that and repurposing them for social or for documentation or what have you, but sentences or just concepts, because we haven't explored that, and I think that would be neat,
a good
different
idea. Yeah, absolutely.
The more we can see your smiling face, the better the world is.
Oh, I was just gonna have it be a screen share. Screen share. I wasn't gonna put my face on there at all, but you'll have to listen to my voice. That is true.
There you go.
So, I don't have a whole lot more for you this week. I don't know if you have other things you want to discuss.
No, I was going to say, like,
let's
call it early, because in 6 minutes, the elementary school, literally half a block down the street, starts their bake sale. And
nice.
And then after that, I have to family commitments to run to, with an arm full of brownies and things that I'm
cupcakes
going to
and
distribute.
pies and everything else. I was just gonna say Corey needs a cupcake. He's going to the bake sale, but there's more to it than that. I'm going out for Mediterranean food. I'm meeting some friends out tonight. So
nice.
If Nyesha goes home tomorrow, tonight we're meeting some local WordPressers and we're gonna have dinner. So we will stop it a little early today, and hopefully I'll have something to show you next week, and we'll have more to discuss.
Totally. Thank you for watching and listening, and thank you as ever, Michelle, for your time and
always
deep thoughts and insightful rhetoric of
exactly.
Anyway, great talking to you.
All right, we'll see everybody later. Yep.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.